What is going on, guys? Jay Craft here, Facebook group All Around Pickers Lounge. Make sure you join us if you haven't, link in the description. I'm here today because I want to talk to you about something important. eBay just cranked out a new email sent out to all of its active users regarding changes that are going to be coming up on June 15th in regards to their adult items policy. This video is going to be a little bit long-winded because there's a lot of details going on here, and this is going to be one of a two-parter, hopefully, as long as we get the answers that we're looking for. So, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe so you can see the second part of this. Up now, we got the email. I'll read it out for you. Items showing sexual activity, sexual content, or sexually suggestive poses will no longer be allowed on eBay.com. Everything else, open bracket adult only, which is the subtree for category, will no longer be available as a category. So we're talking about the full removal of the adult only category on eBay. No new listings will be allowed in the adult-only category, and GTC listings will be ended upon their renewal date. If you still have items in the adult-only category as of June 15th, we'll begin removing them. You may relist items that comply with the updated policy. So the specificity, the specifics, the fine details of this policy are going to be important to understand. I know what you're thinking. If you don't deal a whole lot in adult goods, great, good for you. But we're talking about understanding what you should be buying, which is important. If you're like me and you're a variety seller, the last thing you want to do is buy an item, bring it home, clean it up, take photos of it, go to list it, and then learn right then that you're not allowed to sell it. The purpose of this video is twofold. One, so we can have a little bit of a discussion regarding what is, I guess, socially acceptable and what is acceptable as far as what eBay can allow and not allow, and basically the ethics of drawing lines in the ground. We're going to be having a little bit of a discussion about that. And then also the other end of things, the business end of things, and how this is going to affect you and your business moving forward, as well as, I guess, if you're a buyer, how this is going to affect you as a buyer looking for these types of items moving forward. First up, adult-only DVDs, movies, adult-only magazines and back issues, adult-only video games, adult-only domain names, and other adult-only. Items in these subcategories will no longer be allowed. Please end any items that contain sexually explicit material. You may end your listings yourself, or we will end them for you between the renewal date of June 15th and July 17th. So if you want to extend that window out for yourself as far as July 15th, and you want to get yourself an extra month, pro tip, go ahead and end and relist your listings before June 15th, or they're going to go ahead and get canned. But if their renew date isn't set until July 15th, July 16th, they're going to go ahead and run till then. So there's a little bit of a trick for you. Go and squeeze out a little bit of extra time. But adult-only DVDs, we're talking, pure pornography, and then I guess anything else that could be construed as an adult-only DVD. I don't know if this is going to go as far as like AO type ratings where it's movies that aren't intended for anyone under the age of 18. Would that be considered an adult-only movie? Are we talking pure pornography here? We're going to need some guidance on that. Adult-only magazines and back issues. We've already seen some exceptions. We're going to be going through the updated policy regarding adult-only material. There's 4 magazines that are going to be allowed to be sold on the platform still. I don't know why these 4 and why not others. There's other magazines that would fall within the spectrum of the ones that they are allowing. We'll talk about those. Adult-only video games. This is in reference to PC games as well as console games that would fall under that adult-only umbrella. We have adult-only games made for the PlayStation 5, for the PS Vita. The Nintendo Switch has a whole host of adult-only games that are available on eBay. You won't find them in retail stores, but you can go on eBay right now and you can buy them. All of those, gone. They're going to be yanked off the platform. Adult-only domain names. This one's a little bit funky. I'm pretty certain that eBay didn't have a hand in this, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that here in a bit. And then other adult-only. There is an other to the other category on that parent tree if you do some digging, and it's pretty much your miscellaneous adult goods. It's your catch-all. So that's what's going on with those. We're going to talk about those again more in a bit. I just kind of want to go over the changes with you first. Then we have the adult-only art and adult-only collectibles. I guess collectibles would be a pretty all-encompassing category. I think we'll be talking figures, pulp culture, adult collectibles, autograph memorabilia collectibles, and any type of tangible collectible good that would fall under the adult umbrella. Items in the adult-only collectible and adult-only art may be relisted in the appropriate categories outside of adult-only if they do not contain any sexual content and follow all of these guidelines. We're talking sexual content, including showing, this is where it gets a little bit funky, showing provocative sexual poses, genitalia, or sexual activity as they will no longer be allowed. Provocative sexual poses, genitalia, or sexual activity. Now, I'm going to be showing you some examples here in a bit, and I want some, I guess highbrow discussion with you. Feel free to comment regarding the examples I'm showing you and where you feel they might fall. And because we're getting into this really, really subjective, gray, moral compass type area, this is what I'm a bit afraid of. Now, eBay has done a couple of things to try and cover their own butt, but I'm going to show you some examples that I feel are going to kind of fall within that middle ground. And I asked, and I was fortunate enough to talk to a category manager today. I'm not just going to be giving you pure speculation the entire time I'm here regarding what is in place to ensure that these subjective terms are applied equally, and asked, will there be a firm, I don't know what the word is, a guide or a key that we could use to be able to determine whether or not our items are going to be eligible, rather than having to play this guessing game of listing and hoping that there's no negative impact on our account. Listings for art, nude art, must include item-specific attribute subject nudes. So you must include that within your art if there is nudity on the art. They can be listed only in the following categories: art categories, collectibles, paper, pinup, vintage, collectibles, postcard, risque, and then there's one other. All of this information is on the Ballerama Facebook page. We posted the whole thing. If you need it, just visit there and you'll be able to get it. Adult only clothing, shoes, and accessories. Adult only jewelry. Adult only sex toys. Adult only sex accessories. This is an interesting change that they're making here. Items in these categories can be revised and moved to the appropriate category if they follow these guidelines. Remove any photos that show nudity, sexuality, suggestive poses, or sexual activity. Move the listing to the appropriate category: health and beauty, healthcare, sexual wellness, clothing, shoes, accessories, jewelry and watches, fashion jewelry. So now, your clothing that would be very much so considered sexual in nature, I guess lingerie or beyond. We're talking, maybe bondage and, blindfolds and other types of accessories that would fall under the clothing category that are of sexual nature, are now going to be moved over to clothes, shoes, and accessories, or jewelry and watches, fashion jewelry, which is going to be very interesting, because my understanding of this is the whole goal of this is to separate out content that isn't made for people under 18 and content made for people over 18. So this, in my opinion, is going to be going against that. And you'll see what I mean here as we progress further. And like I said, there's a lot of information to digest, so I don't want to drone on the small things until I've gotten everything out to you. This is where we get into really scary territory right now, and I want you all to please pay attention as I run through this. Adult-only books, adult-only music. Okay? And books, keep in mind, are different than magazines. Items in these categories can be revised and moved to the appropriate category if they follow these guidelines. Please end any items with sexual content, including showing sexually suggestive poses, genitalia, or sexual activity, as they will no longer be allowed. You may relist items that do not contain sexual material, profanity, or other adult material in books or music categories. So there's a lot of things going on here. Sexual poses, sexually suggestive content, and profanity. And if you're not seeing the issues with that, if they're not, blindingly apparent in your eyes, let me break it down for you. Where are we drawing the distinction on this? I sent an email to Jordan Sweetnam. He's the Senior Vice President of the North America's market for eBay, asking for guidance on this. And I'm going to read you that email here in a second. But quickly put, I said, is something like, let's say, 50 Shades of Grey, would that be something that is permissible on the website? Would the movie be permissible? Would the book be permissible? Is it different because it came from a, established large mainstream source, or, a large production company? Or does it fall under those same rules? There's clearly profanity. There's clearly sexually suggestive content in there. The movie featured, what about movies that feature some nudity? I mean, where are we really drawing the line here? And then as far as profanity is concerned, I asked about Huckleberry Finn. There's a hard R in Huckleberry Finn, and I had to know, where are we drawing these distinctions? And we're going to get to the social commentary end of it as well. So let me switch gears here really quick. The restricted adult items policy, okay, they've gone ahead and made it a point to break down things a bit. They said all adult items that are allowed must follow our guidelines. Most adult only items are prohibited. Most, they've said clearly now. Items that contain nudity are allowed only in limited situations and must follow the guidelines below. We'll review the content of the listing, images, and the category of the items to determine if it is allowed. So there may be a pre-review process before your listing even goes live. eBay defines nudity as showing any part of male or female genitalia, anus, or female breast where the areola or nipple is visible. The following are considered nudity. This is eBay's definition of nudity. Modeled clothing that is see-through or very tight and shows human genitalia, the anus, or the nipple/areola of female breast. Male erections, even if the model is closed, and people engaged in sexual contact or activity. Now, some of that is very direct. You know you can't do this. The last one, people engaged in sexual contact or activity. That is slightly vague, and I'll explain why here in a bit. What is the policy? Following items are not allowed. Adult items that contain things that are illegal. Items that do not comply with our illegal explicit content policy. Sexually oriented materials, including items containing nudity and displays of sexual activities, are not allowed. This includes the following: adult films and video games with a rating of X, XXX, R18, or unrated for adult-only audience. Sexually explicit anime, comics, books, films, animation, manga, hentai, yaoi. I don't even know what that one is. I guess I haven't spent enough time on the internet. Adult magazine, nudist publications, or adult anime manga that includes sexually explicit content, nudity, or sexual stories. Tiny asterisk here. Believe it or not, one of the first books that I read from cover to cover was a stolen copy from my father's library. It was the book called The Joy of Sex. And I remember that there was a plethora of illustrations, and the content was clearly sexual, but there was a plethora of illustrations in there. What is going to happen with sexual education or sexual wellness books and guides or tutorial content? What about a DVD that features tutorial content for maybe struggling relationships in the bedroom? There is so much ambiguity to this update that I feel that it's going to cause a logistics nightmare for eBay sellers who are working within this category and buyers who are looking for this content. Good evening. Hey, Kima, how you doing? Yep, I'm good. I'm actually shooting that video that I was telling you about, so I'm happy you're getting back to me. So was the mistake that Visa and MasterCard didn't want those active, or that it was Adyen that didn't want those active? Like, where is the dial back coming to? Okay, but I mean, initially they were removed because of compatibility issues with merchants, correct? Like merchant processing, like they didn't want adult only. I don't know if it was through Adyen or if it was, okay. So what I'm asking is where they, so eBay put them back. And now are they taking them away again just to be compliant with Adyen or to be compliant with MasterCard or Visa? Like kind of like the vape category, because like vaping was a thing, and then you guys had to strip that off the site because of the merchant. So I'm just trying to make sure, is this a merchant issue or is it an eBay thing? I know it just seems like I took a phone call and I am back again, but the reality was I was gone for over an hour just now. Unfortunately, I had a lot of personal business to attend to, so if my energy level seems a little bit off as I'm coming back again, I apologize. I believe where we left off, we were talking about adult magazines, nudist publications, adult anime manga, including sexually explicit content, nudity, or sexual stories. I just got off the phone with the same representative that I spoke with earlier over at the concierge team. She's part of one of the category managers for eBay, and she was able to offer additional guidance and clarity on this. But I got to a bit of a sticking point with her as far as what is and what isn't going to be allowed. I'm going to dive back into it here in just 1 second. I have a email that I sent to Jordan Sweetnam that's going to kind of outline my personal concerns with that, and I'll cross-reference how I mentioned that with her. The following items are allowed only under certain conditions. Nude art listings that do not contain sexually suggestive poses or sexual acts are allowed, but they must include the item's specific attribute subject, nudes. They can only be listed in the following categories, and then there's some categories. This link will also be included as well. Now, as far as sex toys and sex accessories, they can be listed in health and beauty, healthcare, sexual wellness categories. And here is a brand new tidbit of information for me anyways. I don't know if this has been something that's been going on for a while. Sellers must be pre-approved. Seller accounts are automatically reviewed for pre-approval at the time of attempting to list in these categories. So your account can't be a fresh account pretty much, or your account has to maybe do some type of volume first or have some type of safeguards in place to ensure that you are allowed to be able to sell those things. Items must be new. Listings must not offer international shipping. Listings must not include images of nudity or sexual content. Again, this is going to be as of July 15th. Items in the following categories are not permitted: adult-only DVDs, movies, magazines, video games, domain names, adult other. We went over this just a second ago. Now, what I want to do is I want to go over some examples really quick. So the seller must be, I don't know. This is where it gets tricky, okay? And I'm just going to start off by saying that I am a big advocate for equality. And I mean this in all capacities. Equality amongst genders, equality amongst, the treatment of different humans, by race. I am a firm proponent in equality. I'm a firm advocate for free speech. And I feel that speech extends very far out in many directions. And when it comes to stuff of this nature, I believe that it is either all okay or none of it's okay. And I really do mean that. So with certain things, with hate speech, for instance, I don't believe in the construct that is hate speech. I believe that certain things can be said that are at their core can be considered to be evil, but the idea that an individual can interpret it in a way and their personal beliefs are what makes it illegal to say is kind of where I draw that line. So, Jordan Peterson, you can see his book back here. Jordan Peterson kind of put it out there in a way that made a little bit of sense to me. He said, if you have a room full of people, let's just say there's 5 people in the room, and you say something, and 2 of the people are upset at what you said. Okay. They take offense to the statement, regardless of what it is. Now, that's 40% of the people that are there. Clearly, you've offended a large portion of the people there, and you might want to maybe, read the room better, or maybe reconsider, or better understand your context, or listen to their concerns. I'm not necessarily saying you shouldn't say those things, because again, if it's all okay, it has to either all okay or none of it's okay. But I'm saying maybe just look at the situation a little bit. Now, if your room has 100 people in it and one person gets upset, do you change what you do for that one person? What if it's 10,000 people and one person gets upset? How far down do we go, and how, where do we draw the line and say that an individual's feelings matter? If you have 1 million people and one person is upset and says, no, you can't say these things because, I'm from the planet Glorb and my people take great offense to the usage of the color green. And you cannot talk about the color green. It is offensive to our people who suffered through the Green Tyranny War in 1500 AD. You can't talk about green. Now, is it ridiculous? Should we care about that one person's feelings? Or do we just have to say, well, as a whole, the intent, or do we say maybe the intent? The intent matters. I digress, so. I hope you drew something from that. Let's look at this first piece. We got 2 people here, and they're kissing, okay? Now, is a woman dressed, or is that part of the structure that's holding her? Are either of them wearing clothes? Is this nudity? And is this a sexual act? Is kissing considered a sexual act? Is it, foreplay to something? Is it just an innocent embrace? Are they consenting individuals? Is he holding her against her will and forcing himself onto her? Context is important, but subjectivity is where I'm really concerned, is that there's a person who is going to be making a decision as to whether or not this is considered a sexual act when you go to list it online. And I know what you're thinking. Okay. Well, clearly, you're thinking one of two things. Clearly cover them up. These heathenish children are fornicating in front of me. How dare you put that on your video, Jay? That is disgusting and vile. How dare you? And there's another group of people who are saying, what's the big deal? I don't understand. It's just two people hugging and giving each other a kiss. It's subjective. It's very subjective. How about this one? This woman is clearly naked. Okay. There's no clothing line. Okay. Clearly naked. Yet there's no nipples or areolas, and there's no genitalia. And I'm just going to roll the dice and say there's probably no anus on this sculpture either. Now, she's naked, but because you can't see any of her tiddly bits, does that mean that it's okay? Okay. Well, here's the other problem. It's a sexually suggestive pose. So does that mean that we can't have that? Wait. Maybe it's not sexually suggestive. Maybe she's getting ready to do a yoga stance. Maybe she's going to do some acro yoga. She's going to lean forward on her hands. She's just happening to press her tiddly bits together, and she's going to do a little yoga press, and she's going to flip up end over end. Maybe this is how angels, this is how they start flight from the ground. They got to take this pose and then go flying. Is it sexually suggestive? Wait, okay, well, you know what? I wasn't even thinking. I forgot about this other subsect. How can that be sexually suggestive? It's not even a human. That's an angel. You can't sexualize an angel. So therefore, that has to be okay, right? This is the gray area that I'm talking about. How about this one? Okay. Well, there's nudity there, right? This is from the Sixtine Chapel. Michelangelo painted this. What about works of art that are religious in nature that feature loads of nudity? What about religious or stuff that has the religious nature to it, or religious signing or depictions, but show people having sex? Then what? Okay, is that going to be allowed? You're saying we can't have certain religious materials on the site now? Some religious material is okay, and other religious material isn't okay? This is why we're going to have two parts to this video, okay? Because there's so much ambiguity here. So, I sent that email out. I said, "Afternoon, Jordan. I hope this message finds you in good health and spirits. I wanted to reach out to you after receiving a dozen comments and concerns over a recent email that went out regarding the changes to the adult-only category. I contacted Concierge and got a mixed batch of answers from a listing category member of some sort. Her name was Kima. She was lovely, but she did not have all the answers I was seeking. Excuse me. If you have time or could kick this across to someone who does, I have a few questions I could use some guidance on. When it comes to this change, is it something that is happening at the Audion level, the MasterCard Visa, or is this a site-wide decision? I ask, as we should know if this is something that we should prepare for, this to become the industry norm across all e-commerce, as well as better understand the motives with our business partner, eBay. Why, eBay? Why are you doing this to us? Why was the ability to list an adult removed during the beginning of managed payments migration, then added again, then decided to be removed again? Now, that phone call I just took, I was provided with a little bit more information. However, that information was incredibly vague. eBay told me that when they added the categories back, that it was a bit in error and that they are simply dialing back on that change that they had made. Okay. There's no way this is correct. Okay. But I have to wait until I get more information. I will let you know. Will there be clear-cut lines in regards to what is okay and not okay? I ask this due to the subjective nature of what is and is not okay in regards to art. Will the reviewer be working with a guidance sheet, and if so, can we as a speculative art buyers gain access to this to avoid buying things we cannot sell on the platform? This is important. Very, very important. Lastly, in regards to books, Will things such as romance novels with clearly sexual language be allowed on the site, even mainstream titles such as 50 Shades of Grey? What about language found in books such as Huckleberry Finn and the usage of the N-word? I'm not opposed to lines being drawn, but I do feel transparency of where these lines are, as well as the motivations behind these decisions, can really help quell the concerns of everyday sellers, as well as buyers who will no longer be able to find items they are accustomed to finding on the site. This is true. Where is the line drawn? Because if sexually suggestive material or adult content, or, with things like 50 Shades of Grey in mind, where we're talking about dominance and rape fantasies and, subdom, all these things, bondage and more, if we're talking about all these things, and if that sexual content isn't allowed, what about the racy covers? Okay, the ones that depict sexual scenes or acts of sexuality. All those, what about all the Danielle Steele on the website, all those romance novels on the website? Are any of those going to be allowed? What about the movie 50 Shades of Grey? Are we going to allow that on the site? Because the guidance says that we can't have profane material, profanity, on the site any longer come June 15th. So do we have to go back through and check our books to make sure there's no profane language? Will historical documents or historical books like Huckleberry Finn, will sex reference books and sex education books, will those get removed from the site too? How broad and far sweeping are the implications of this change? Is it something that we should be worried about? Is this the beginning of a change within e-commerce? We saw vape products wiped off the internet. Why? Because MasterCard and Visa made the decision, and I'm sure somebody who's a big company that might have a vested interest in not seeing vape products being sold on the largest e-commerce platform site in America, both of them. What company might be interested, might be in that position to try and put a stop to it? So what are the motivations behind this decision? Why is eBay choosing to do this now? We want to know. And we also want to be prepared to make sure that we don't buy stuff that we can't sell. So it's going to be an interesting period in time. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. If you have any thoughts, please talk with me down below. I want to have this conversation with you. We're also planning on having a special guest on with me here soon, so that way we can talk more about the downturn in the collector's market. We're going to talk about implications of changes to e-commerce. I hope you stay plugged in. And here's the thing. I understand, guys, I haven't been around. I haven't been doing Reseller Roundup. I've been busy. 4 months, I sold $100,000 of Pokemon stuff. I've been busy. It takes a lot of time and effort to move product, but I'll try my best to make more videos. I'm trying to find my place in this world right now. I don't know what I want to do. I'm struggling. Have any of you had this problem before, where you're struggling between doing the thing that you're good at that makes you money, okay, or doing the thing that makes you happy? And sometimes you do so much of this that you actually start to forget what actually makes you happy. We're in a dog-eat-dog world right now. The government's giving away money like you can't believe. Inflation at 4.1% over the last month. 4.1% in a month? So my money is becoming worthless. I don't know what's going to happen. Good luck to all of you. And if you don't make that money, someone else will.